Stop overthinking, a practical guide to quieting your noisy mind. Imagine you are trying to fall asleep, but your brain won't press the off switch. It replays a conversation from work, dissecting every word you said. It jumps to a future presentation, painting pictures of embarrassing mistakes. Your to-do list for tomorrow starts scrolling like a frantic news ticker. You are physically in bed, but mentally, you are running a marathon you never signed up for. This is overthinking, and it is the exhausting background noise of modern life. It turns simple choices into hours of mental debate and peaceful moments into sessions of worry. It steals your sleep, your joy, and your confidence, convincing you that this churning is necessary. But here is the liberating truth: that relentless noise is not a sign of your depth or intelligence. It is a habit, and like any habit, it can be changed starting today. This book is your guide to breaking that habit for good. This book is not about becoming someone who never thinks. Thinking is your superpower. It solves problems and creates art. Overthinking, however, is that superpower stuck in overdrive, burning fuel but going nowhere. We are going to work together to shift gears. Consider this your personal training manual for a quieter, stronger, and more peaceful mind. We will move from understanding why your brain gets caught in loops to learning immediate breaks you can slam on a thought spiral. You will build new daily habits that design your life for less mental clutter. Ultimately, you will learn to move from analysis to action, reclaiming the time and energy overthinking has been stealing. Your journey from a noisy mind to a clear, calm, and confident one begins right here, right now. Welcome to the first day of thinking less and living more. Chapter 1: The Overthinking Trap: Why Your Brain Gets Stuck on Repeat. Let me tell you about Maya. Maya stood frozen in the grocery aisle, holding two nearly identical jars of tomato sauce. One was organic, cost 40 cents more, and had a simpler ingredient list. The other was the familiar brand her family always bought. 10 minutes later, she was still there, her cart blocking the aisle, her mind a storm of pros and cons. This is the overthinking trap in its most basic form. Your brain, designed to solve real threats, now fires warning signals over pasta sauce. It mistakes small choices for life-or-death decisions, locking you in a mental prison of your own making. The trap is not the thinking itself, but the feeling that you cannot escape it. You believe you must think your way out, which only builds the walls higher. Recognizing this loop is your first and most powerful step toward freedom. You are not broken. Your problem-solving engine is just idling too high. Think of your mind as a brilliant but overprotective guard dog. Its job is to keep you safe by barking at potential dangers. In the ancient world, this dog barked at rustling bushes that might hide a predator. In your modern world, it barks at an unanswered text from your boss. The dog doesn't know the difference. It just knows something is uncertain. Overthinking is that dog barking nonstop at every rustling leaf, every passing cloud. It is exhausting for you and pointless for the dog. Your mission is not to silence the dog forever, but to become its calm, confident trainer. You must learn to recognize the difference between a real threat and just the wind. When you understand this ancient wiring, you stop fighting yourself and start guiding yourself. The battle is not with your thoughts, but with your reaction to them. The loop always follows a predictable and exhausting pattern. It starts with a trigger, often something small like a strange look from a colleague or a minor decision. Your brain then latches onto this trigger like a catchy song you can't forget. You begin the what-if game, imagining every possible outcome, especially the bad ones. This feels like being responsible, but it's actually mental spinning. Your body responds to these thoughts as if they are real, releasing stress chemicals that make you feel anxious. That anxious feeling then convinces your brain the threat is real, so it thinks even harder. This creates a feedback loop where thinking causes anxiety and anxiety demands more thinking. Breaking this cycle requires a tool applied at any point in the loop. The coming chapters will give you those tools. You might wonder if overthinking is just a part of who you are. Perhaps people have told you you're just a worrier or too much of a thinker. That label can feel permanent, like a life sentence. I'm here to tell you that is a story, not a truth. Your brain is the most changeable part of your entire body, a concept called neuroplasticity. This means every time you interrupt an overthinking spiral, you carve a new path in your mind. You are not stuck with the mental highways you've always used. You can build new roads. Think of it like a path through a field of tall grass. The most worn path is the one of worry. Walking a new route feels difficult at first, but each step flattens the grass. Soon, the new path of calm becomes the easier, more natural one to take. Your potential for change is not hopeful thinking. It is solid science. Consider the incredible energy you are pouring into this mental activity. It is like having a powerful computer running a complex simulation in the background all day long. That simulation drains your battery, leaving you tired for your actual life. How many creative ideas have you not pursued because you were too busy thinking about them? How many joyful moments were blurred by a background hum of worry? This is the real cost we rarely calculate, the life not lived. The energy spent imagining disasters could be spent building your dreams. The time spent rehashing yesterday could be spent enjoying today. By learning to quiet the noise, you are not losing a part of yourself. You are reclaiming your most vital resources, your focus, your time, and your vibrant energy. Imagine what you could build with all that power back. This chapter is your invitation to step outside the trap and look at it. You are no longer just the person stuck in the loop. You are also the observer who can see the loop for what it is. This shift in perspective is your foundation for everything that follows. From this new vantage point, you can see that the thoughts are just thoughts, not commands or prophecies. You can see the guard dog is just doing its job, however misguided. You can see the worn path and decide to step onto the fresh grass. This awareness is the seed of all change. In the next chapter, we will get even more personal. We will discover your unique overthinking style, because knowing your specific pattern is like having the blueprint to your own mental escape plan. Get ready to meet your inner overthinker, not with judgment but with curiosity. Chapter 2, Your Thinking Style. Meet your inner overthinker. Leo was a software engineer who spent 2 weeks perfecting a project proposal. He researched every detail, modeled every possible failure, and polished every slide. He submitted it, feeling a flicker of pride which was instantly crushed. All he could see were the 2 minor typos he'd found after sending it. He was convinced his boss would see only those errors and think he was careless. Leo is the perfectionist, one of the common overthinking characters living in our minds. The perfectionist believes that anything less than flawless is a failure, and this belief is a prison. It stops you from finishing things, sharing ideas, or feeling peace about your work. Your value gets tied to an impossible standard no human can meet. Meeting your inner perfectionist is the first step to negotiating with it. You can learn to appreciate excellence without being enslaved by it. Then there was Sam, who saw a news article about a rare virus. He immediately felt a tightness in his own throat. Within an hour, he was online, researching symptoms and falling into a deep rabbit hole of worst-case medical scenarios. By bedtime, he was quietly planning his will. Sam is the catastrophizer. This character's specialty is taking a single spark of doubt and building it into a 5-alarm fire. It plays the what-if game on its most terrifying setting, jumping to the worst possible conclusion in a single leap. The catastrophizer confuses possibility with probability, treating the 1-in-a-million chance as a sure thing. Its goal feels like preparation, but it's actually a theft of present-moment peace. Recognizing this character allows you to separate real concern from imagined disaster. You can thank it for its vigilance and then firmly return to the facts of the present. Imagine Chloe, who rehearsed a simple request to her roommate for 3 days. She wanted to ask if they could switch cleaning weeks due to her busy schedule. She played out every possible response in her head, worrying her friend would be angry, feel used, or think she was lazy. She phrased the question a dozen different ways, each time imagining a new negative reaction. Chloe is the people pleaser. This overthinker is obsessed with reading minds and managing other people's emotions. It operates on a dangerous belief that it is your job to make everyone happy and that disapproval is a catastrophe. The people pleaser spends life walking on eggshells that they themselves laid down. It trades your own needs and truth for a shaky illusion of control over others' feelings. Spotting this pattern helps you reclaim your right to have needs and express them. Your relationships will become more real and less exhausting. Finally, picture David lying awake at 2 a.m. His mind was a broken record of a minor conflict from a work meeting 5 days prior. He replayed his comment, their reaction, what he should have said, and what they must still think of him. This is the ruminator, the master of the infinite rewind. The ruminator believes that by replaying the past, it can somehow fix it or extract a hidden lesson. It chews on old events like mental cud, long after any nutrients are gone. This process creates no new insight, only sadness and frustration. It traps you in a time machine that only goes to yesterday's regrets. The past cannot be changed, but your relationship with it can be transformed. Seeing the ruminator at work allows you to gently pause the tape. You can learn to acknowledge the past without letting it hijack your present. So which character feels most familiar to you? You may see yourself in one or a mix of several. This isn't about putting you in a box, it's about giving your pattern a name. When you can name it, you can notice it. You can say, there's the perfectionist getting nervous about this email. That simple act creates a space between you and the thought. In that space, you have a choice. You are no longer just the character, you are also the director of the play. The director understands the character's role but isn't controlled by it. The director can say, "Thank you, perfectionist, for wanting this to be good, but good enough is fine for now." This is how you start to take back control. It turns a confusing internal storm into a manageable conversation with different parts of yourself. Knowing your style is like getting a custom-made map for your journey out of overthinking. If you're a catastrophizer, your tools will focus on reality checking. If you're a people pleaser, your work will center on boundary setting. This personalized approach is what makes change stick. It moves us from vague advice to specific strategy. In the next chapter, we'll go even deeper into the stories these characters tell. We will learn how to identify the specific sentences your mind repeats that keep you trapped. These sentences are powerful, but they are not truths. They are just stories, and you have the power to write new ones. Get ready to become the author of your inner narrative, one conscious choice at a time. Chapter 3: The Stories You Tell Yourself, How Thoughts Become Reality. Anya believed a simple story. I'm not a natural leader. This thought felt like a cold, hard fact. When asked to lead a small project at her community garden, her mind instantly provided evidence. It replayed a time in school when her group presentation stumbled. It highlighted her quieter nature in meetings. The story, "I'm not a natural leader," dictated her reality. She felt anxious, declined the opportunity, and felt a familiar mix of relief and regret. This is the hidden power of your personal narratives. They are not just passing thoughts, they are the scripts for your life. They filter your experiences, making you notice proof that supports them and ignore evidence that doesn't. Your brain's mission is to make the outside world match your inside story. But what if the story is wrong? What if it's just a tale you learned long ago and never questioned? These stories often sound like absolute truths, but they usually start with "I am," "I can't," or "people always." "I am awkward," "I can't handle conflict," "people always take advantage of me." They are born from past experiences, comments from others, or comparisons we make. A single criticism from a teacher can become the story "I'm not smart." One failed friendship can solidify into "I'm unlovable." The mind then collects data like a detective with a predetermined culprit. Every stumble becomes proof of clumsiness. Every quiet moment confirms shyness. The story becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, shaping your actions and therefore your outcomes. The first step to change is to catch these stories in the act. You must learn to hear them not as truth, but as a narrator's voice in your own personal movie. Is it a kind, accurate narrator or a harsh critic from your past? Let's practice this with a common afterwork story. You send a fun message to a friend and get no reply. The quiet hours that follow are a blank screen where your mind projects its favorite film. The story might be "They're mad at me" or "I'm too much for people." You scan your memory for what you might have done wrong. Your mood dips and you might even withdraw, creating the very distance you feared. Notice how the story created a whole emotional reality from silence. Now, let's rewrite the script. What are other more likely stories? They're busy with work. Their phone died. They saw it, got distracted, and forgot. These stories don't trigger the same panic. This exercise isn't about naive positivity, it's about flexible realism. It's about choosing the story that serves your peace, not your fear. Your mission this week is to become a story hunter. Carry a small notebook or use your phone's notes app. When you feel a spike of anxiety, sadness, or frustration, pause. Ask yourself, what story am I telling myself right now? Write it down word for word. You might find, my boss didn't say hello this morning. The story is, I messed up the report and he's disappointed. Just the act of writing it down pulls it from the shadows into the light. In the light, it often looks smaller, shakier. You can then ask the most powerful question. Do I know this for sure? 90% of the time, the answer is a clear no. You have just broken the story's spell. You have separated the observable fact, no hello, from the fictional narrative, his disappointment is about me. This space is where your freedom grows. Once you've caught a story, you can challenge it with gentle curiosity. It's not a fight, it's an investigation. Take the story, I'll never be good at public speaking. Ask it, is this 100% true always with no exceptions? Has there ever been a time you shared an idea in a small group and it went okay? Ask, where did this story come from? Maybe it was from one terrible presentation in 10th grade. Ask, how does believing this story make me feel and act? It makes you avoid opportunities, which ensures you never improve. Finally, craft a new, more accurate story. Try, public speaking is a skill I'm still learning. I get nervous and that's normal. I can improve with practice. This new story is compassionate and leaves room for growth. It doesn't create panic, it creates possibility. The stories you tell yourself are the architecture of your inner world. You have been the builder, often using old, borrowed blueprints without realizing it. Now, you get to be the architect. With each story you catch and question, you take back a piece of your mental real estate. This isn't about denying difficulties or past pains. It's about refusing to let a single narrative define your entire future. It's about choosing the interpretation that empowers you rather than paralyzes you. In the next section, we move from awareness to action. When a storm of these stories hits, you need tools to find calm fast. You need an emergency brake for your mind, and that's exactly what we'll build next. Get ready to learn simple, powerful techniques to stop a thought spiral in under a minute. Chapter 4. The Emergency Brake. 3 quick ways to halt a thought spiral. Ben was on a long drive when his mind started to spiral. A critical email from a client replayed in his head, morphing into fears of losing his biggest account. His chest tightened, his grip on the wheel turned white-knuckled, and the highway blurred. He was lost in a mental movie of financial ruin. This is when you need an emergency brake, a tool to stop the mental skid instantly. Your thinking brain is offline during panic, so these tools work through your body and senses. They yank your awareness out of the scary future and into the safe present. They don't solve the problem yet, they first solve the panic. Think of them as mental fire extinguishers. You grab them when there's a blaze, not when you're calmly planning your week. Let's learn 3 of the most reliable brakes you can use anywhere, anytime. First, let's try the 5-4-3-2-1 grounding technique. This is your instant anchor to the physical world. Right now, look around and name 5 things you can see. Notice the color of the wall, a picture frame, the pattern of light on the floor. Now close your eyes if you can and identify 4 things you can feel. The texture of your shirt on your arms, the chair against your back, the air on your skin, your feet in your shoes. Next, listen for 3 things you can hear. The distant hum of traffic, the sound of your own breath, the ticking of a clock. Then notice 2 things you can smell, maybe the scent of coffee in the air or your own soap. Finally, identify 1 thing you can taste, the lingering taste of your last meal or a sip of water. You have just forced your brain to scan its senses, which immediately interrupts the fear circuit. The second brake is the mind dump. This tool is for when your thoughts are a rushing river of tasks, worries, and ideas. It feels like having 20 browser tabs open in your brain. You can't focus because each tab is yelling for attention. Grab a piece of paper or open a blank document. Set a timer for 3 minutes. Now, write down everything in your head. Don't use sentences or punctuation. Just dump words and phrases. Call dentist, project deadline, mom's birthday gift, what John meant, rent due, need oil change, feeling tired, vacation plans. Don't judge or organize, just extract the mental clutter onto the page. When the timer stops, look at the list. You have just externalized your chaos. The items are now outside of you on paper, where they look smaller and more manageable. Your mind now has space to breathe and focus on one thing at a time. The third powerful break is the purposeful pause with breath. This is your stealth tool for a busy office, a crowded room, or any public place. When you feel the swirl of thoughts begin, you create a tiny, secret intervention. First, plant your feet firmly on the floor. Feel the solid ground supporting you. Take a slow, quiet breath in for a count of 4. Feel your lungs expand. Hold that breath gently for a count of 4. Now, exhale slowly and completely for a count of 6, as if you're fogging up a mirror. Repeat this cycle just 3 times. This pattern of longer exhales triggers your body's relaxation response. It sends a direct signal to your nervous system that says, "We are safe right now." No one around you needs to know you're doing it. In less than 30 seconds, you have shifted your body's state, and your mind has no choice but to follow. Why do these simple tricks work so well? Overthinking lives in the parts of your brain that deal with the past and future, memory and imagination. Grounding techniques force your brain to use the part that deals with the present moment, your sensory cortex. You literally can't vividly imagine a future disaster while you are intensely focused on the feel of your desk or the sound of a bird. It's a neurological switch. The mind dump works because your brain's working memory has very limited space. By writing things down, you free up that precious mental RAM. Your brain stops trying to remember everything and can start processing one thing at a time. The breath pause works because you cannot be in a state of fight or flight and deliberate calm at the same time. Your body has one dominant state, and you get to choose which one you feed. Practice these breaks this week, but not only during emergencies. Try them when you're mildly stressed to build the muscle memory. While waiting in line, do a quick 5-4-3-2-1 scan of your surroundings. Before starting work, do a 2-minute mind dump to clear your mental desktop. When you sit down for a meal, take one purposeful pause breath before you eat. This practice wires these tools into your brain so they are automatic when crisis hits. You are building a new instinct. When anxiety rises, you reach for an anchor instead of drowning in thoughts. These breaks don't make your problems disappear, but they give you back your clarity. From a place of calm, you can then address any real issue with intelligence, not panic. You are learning to be the driver of your mind, not a passenger being taken on a scary ride. With your emergency brakes installed, you have power in the moment. But some thoughts are persistent, like a catchy, annoying jingle. They come back again and again, especially the scary what-if thoughts. In the next chapter, we'll tackle those head-on. We'll learn how to shrink those terrifying future monsters down to their actual, manageable size. You'll learn to move from terrifying imagination to boring, reassuring facts. Get ready to tame the what-if monster that lives in the shadowy corners of your mind and bring it into the light. Chapter 5. Tame the what-if monster, moving from fear to fact. Sarah was about to speak up in a team meeting when the what-if monster pounced. "What if my idea sounds stupid?" it whispered. "What if they've already thought of it? What if I stumble over my words and everyone sees how nervous I am?" The monster grew with each question until Sarah stayed silent, her good idea unsaid. The what-if monster specializes in hypothetical horror stories. It thrives in the unknown, painting the future with the brush of your deepest fears. Its questions feel urgent, as if answering them will protect you. But engaging with them only makes the monster stronger. Your goal is not to answer every what if. It is to change your relationship with the questions themselves. You must learn to see them as just thoughts, not as threats that demand your full attention. This chapter will give you the tools to do exactly that. Your first tool is the worst case, best case, most likely case game. When a what if I fail thought arises, don't fight it. Instead, play it out deliberately. First ask, okay, what's the absolute worst that could realistically happen? Let yourself imagine it. In Sarah's case, maybe she stutters, people look confused, and her idea is dismissed. It feels uncomfortable, but is it world-ending? Next ask, what's the absolute best that could happen? Her idea is celebrated, implemented, and she gets praised. That feels nice. Finally, and most importantly, ask, what is the most likely thing to happen? She shares her idea, a few people nod, there's some discussion, and the meeting moves on. This process does something magical. It shows your brain that the scary thought is just one possibility in a range. The most likely outcome is almost always boringly manageable, not catastrophic. The second tool is the magician's question. Do I know this for sure? The what-if monster loves to present guesses as facts. What if they all hate my presentation? Feels like a looming truth. Pause and ask the question. Do I know for a fact with 100% certainty that they will all hate it? The answer is always no. You cannot know the future. This question creates a crucial crack in the monster's armor. It separates the known, I am giving a presentation, from the imagined, they will hate it. Your job is to deal with the known, not get lost in the imagined. You can prepare for the presentation, which is useful. Worrying about their reaction is useless because it is not knowable. This question trains your brain to invest energy only in the realm of what is real and actionable right now. Now let's build your evidence file. The monster often makes the same scary claims about you. You'll mess up. You're not good enough. Things will fall apart. Start a note in your phone or a page in a journal labeled evidence file. Your mission is to collect proof against these claims. When you successfully handle a difficult conversation, jot it down. Navigated the budget talk with Mark calmly. When you receive positive feedback, add it. Email from client thanking me for quick response. When a feared event doesn't happen, note it. Prepared for the meeting to run long, it ended early. This file becomes a powerful counterargument. The next time the monster says, you can't handle pressure, you can open your file and see a list of times you did. You are no longer arguing with a feeling. You are consulting the data of your own life. Data always wins over drama. It's also helpful to schedule worry time. This sounds strange, but it is incredibly effective. The monster hates boundaries. Choose a 15-minute window each day, say 5:00 to 5:15 p.m. When a what-if thought pops up at 10 a.m., you don't suppress it. You kindly tell it, not now. I have an appointment with you at 5 p.m. Write the worry down on a list if you need to. When 5 p.m. arrives, sit down with your list for your scheduled worry time. You will often find the worries have lost their charge. Some will seem silly, if any still feel big. You can now think about them during this contained period. This practice teaches your brain that worrying is not an all-day emergency activity. It is a scheduled task, and often a boring one. It starves the monster of the constant, frantic attention it craves. Finally, practice turning what if into what is. This is the ultimate grounding move. When you are lost in a terrifying future, use your senses to return to the present. Ask, what is actually happening right now in this moment? Look around. You are likely safe in a room breathing. The disaster you are imagining is not occurring. This simple check resets your timeline. It reminds you that the fearful future is a story, not your current reality. By continually bringing yourself back to what is, you build a home in the present moment. The monster's power comes from pulling you into a future that doesn't exist. Your power comes from choosing to live in the real, solid, often peaceful present. With these tools, the monster becomes a manageable nuisance, not a ruler of your mind. You have now learned to stop the spiral and challenge the scary stories. But there's one specific story that causes immense suffering: the myth of perfection. It tells us that anything less than perfect is a failure, and this belief is a major engine of overthinking. In the next chapter, we're going to dismantle this myth piece by piece. We'll discover why good enough is not a compromise, but a revolutionary act that frees up your energy for what truly matters. Get ready to break free from the perfectionism problem. Chapter 6: The Perfectionism Problem. How perfect is the enemy of done. Alina spent 4 hours designing a simple flyer for a neighborhood book club. She tried 8 different fonts, shifted margins by millimeters, and agonized over the exact shade of blue. The event was in 2 days, and she still hadn't sent it to the printer. This is perfectionism in action. The endless tweaking, the inability to call something finished, the belief that a small flaw will ruin everything. Perfectionism disguises itself as a virtue, high standards. But in truth, it is the fear of judgment, criticism, or failure in a fancy costume. It operates on a cruel equation. Your worth equals your performance. This makes every task feel dangerously important, fueling endless overthinking. Let's expose this trap and learn the liberating art of good enough. The first step is to adopt the 80% rule. Imagine you have a project or task. Your instinct is to work on it until it's 100% perfect, which is a moving target that never arrives. The 80% rule says, when you feel it is 80% of the way to perfect, stop, ship it, share it, be done. That last 20% takes 80% of your energy and is often only noticeable to you. The world experiences your 80% as complete, professional, and excellent. Apply this to sending an email, cleaning your house, or preparing for a meeting. Ask yourself, is this 80% good? If yes, your job is complete. This rule transfers energy from endless polishing to actually living. It celebrates completion over perfection. Each time you apply it, you weaken the perfectionist's voice and strengthen your own voice of freedom. We must also redefine what failure truly means. To the perfectionist, failure is a final, fatal verdict on your ability. It is something to be avoided at all costs, which means not trying anything hard. Let's reframe failure as data, not defeat. Think of a scientist running an experiment. If the hypothesis is wrong, the experiment isn't a failure. It provided valuable data about what doesn't work, guiding the next attempt. Apply this to your life. If you give a presentation that doesn't land well, you haven't failed as a person. You've gathered data. That storytelling approach didn't connect. I need more examples next time. This removes the life or death stakes. It turns a scary event into a neutral learning opportunity. Your goal shifts from be perfect to learn and improve, which is a journey without a terrifying end. Practice purposeful imperfection as a rebellious exercise. This week, do something small intentionally imperfectly. Send an email with one typo in it, not in a crucial document. Post a social media picture that's a little blurry or not perfectly staged. Leave a visible dish in the sink overnight. The goal is to feel the mild anxiety and then observe that the world does not end. Notice that no one calls you about the typo. See that people still like the imperfect photo. Your home is still standing with the dish in the sink. You are collecting direct evidence that your fear of imperfection is exaggerated. You are proving to your nervous system that mistakes are not catastrophes. They are normal, human, and utterly survivable. This practice builds tolerance for the imperfect reality of life. Remember, your first action is your best teacher. Perfectionism wants you to think, plan, and research endlessly before you begin. It says, you're not ready yet. But you are never ready for something you've never done. The truth is, you become ready by starting. Want to write? Your first paragraph will be awkward, but it teaches you more than thinking about writing for a month. Want to start a project? Your first attempt will have flaws, but it will show you the real problems to solve. Action generates real information. Overthinking generates only fear. Give yourself permission to create a rough draft version of anything. A rough draft of a conversation, a plan, a meal, a career move. A rough draft is by definition imperfect, changeable, and good enough to begin. It takes the pressure off and gets the wheels turning. Perfectionism steals your joy in the process because you are only focused on the flawless outcome. When you release its grip, you rediscover the pleasure of doing. You can enjoy painting without needing to be Picasso. You can enjoy cooking a meal without needing it to be restaurant quality. The goal becomes engagement, not evaluation. You start to measure your life by the richness of your experiences, not by a flawless report card. In the next section of our journey, we move from managing thoughts to managing our whole being. We'll explore how your physical body is not just along for the ride, but a powerful partner in creating a quiet mind. Get ready to discover how to think less by moving more, and how to use your breath as a remote control for your nervous system. Chapter 7. Befriend Your Body, How to Think Less by Moving More. Mark spent all day in his head. As a financial analyst, his work was spreadsheets, forecasts, and silent concentration. By evening, his mind felt like a cramped, stuffy room full of buzzing flies, anxious thoughts about markets and deadlines. He tried to think his way to calm, but it was impossible. Then he put on his shoes and went for a brisk 20-minute walk. He didn't think about his problems. He just noticed his neighborhood, felt his legs move, and breathed the cool air. When he returned home, the mental flies were gone. The problems were still there, but the panic around them had quieted. This is the mind-body connection in action. A calm body is not just a result of a calm mind. It is a direct path to creating one. Your thoughts can lie to you, but your body's state tells the truth and can lead you back to peace. Why does this work so well? Overthinking and anxiety are states of high mental energy but physical stagnation. Your body is flooded with stress chemicals like cortisol, ready for a fight or flight that never comes. That energy has nowhere to go, so it circles in your mind as worry. Physical movement metabolizes those chemicals. It tells your body, we are using this energy for motion so you can turn off the alarm. It doesn't have to be intense. A walk, some stretching, dancing in your living room, or even vigorous cleaning can work. The goal is to get out of your head and into your physical experience. Feel your heart beat, your muscles contract, your breath deepen. This sensory input dominates your brain's processing power, leaving less room for catastrophic thoughts. Your body becomes an anchor, pulling you out of the stormy sea of your mind. Let's talk about the most accessible tool you own, your breath. Your breath is a remote control for your nervous system. Short, shallow breaths tell your brain danger, alert. Long, slow exhales tell your brain safety, relax. Try the 4-7-8 breath right now. Sit comfortably. Inhale quietly through your nose for a count of 4. Hold your breath for a count of 7. Now exhale completely through your mouth, making a gentle whoosh sound for a count of 8. Repeat this cycle just 4 times. Feel the shift. This pattern increases oxygen in your bloodstream and powerfully activates your body's relaxation response. It is impossible to maintain a state of panic while breathing this slowly. Keep this tool in your pocket for any moment of rising tension. It is your instant, invisible reset button. Now let's integrate movement snacks into your day. You don't need a gym membership or an hour-long workout. Think of 5-minute movement breaks as mental palate cleansers. Set a timer to go off every 2 hours during work. When it rings, stand up. Do 10 squats, stretch your arms to the ceiling, twist your torso side to side, or simply walk to get a glass of water. The point is to break the frozen, hunched-over posture of thinking. When your body is still for too long, your mind assumes a state of vigilance. Movement tells it that all is well and it's safe to relax. These breaks prevent the mental static from building up throughout the day. They keep your energy flowing, making the end-of-day thought spiral much less likely. Your productivity will likely increase because a refreshed mind is a focused mind. Practice grounding through your senses as a daily ritual. This is different from the emergency 5-4-3-2-1 technique. This is a nourishing practice. When you eat, take the first 3 bites in complete silence. Notice the texture, taste, and temperature. When you shower, feel the water on your skin and really smell the soap. When you walk outside, listen for 3 distinct sounds. These acts train your brain to default to the present moment. They build your sensory muscle, making it stronger than your worry muscle. Over time, your baseline state becomes more anchored in your body and the physical world, not lost in the abstract world of thought. You begin to experience life directly, not through a filter of commentary and worry. This is the essence of peace. Your body is not a separate entity carrying your thinking head around. It is an intelligent partner in your well-being. By befriending it, through movement, breath, and sensory awareness, you gain a powerful ally in your fight against overthinking. You now have ways to change your mental state that don't require more thinking. In the next chapter, we'll look at your external environment. We'll learn how to design your daily life to naturally produce fewer triggers for overthinking. You'll learn how to structure your time, your space, and your decisions to support a quiet mind. Get ready to become the architect of a life that fosters calm. Chapter 8. Design your day for a lighter mind. Think about Tom's typical morning. He wakes up and immediately checks his phone. He sees a stressful work email, a news alert about a crisis, and a social media post from a friend on a perfect vacation. Within minutes, his mind is racing with work anxiety, world worries, and personal comparison. His day starts in a defensive, overwhelmed state, and it's an uphill battle from there. Your daily environment and routines are not neutral. They are the fuel or the antidote for your overthinking mind. You can design a day that protects your peace instead of sabotaging it. This is about being proactive, not just reactive. It's about building a lifestyle where calm is the default, not a hard-won exception. Let's redesign your day from the ground up. Start with your decision diet. Every decision you make, from what to wear to what project to tackle first, uses mental energy. This energy is finite. If you use it all on small choices, you have none left for important things and your brain feels frazzled. Simplify your life to preserve this energy. Try a capsule wardrobe with easy-to-match clothes. Eat the same healthy breakfast every weekday. Set a standard weekly menu for dinners. Automate your bills. The goal is not a boring life, but a strategically simple one. By reducing trivial decisions, you free up massive mental bandwidth. This bandwidth is then available for creative thinking, deep work, and enjoying your life, rather than being drained by constant micro-choices. You create space for your mind to rest. Next, create powerful rituals to replace rumination. Rituals are predictable, comforting actions that signal to your brain what mode to be in. Design a morning ritual that doesn't involve your phone for the first 30 minutes. Perhaps it's glass of water, 5 minutes of stretching, writing down 3 things you look forward to today. This ritual sets a tone of calm intention. Design an evening ritual to help you unwind. A cup of tea, reading a fiction book for 15 minutes, jotting down one good thing from the day. These rituals act as mental bookends. They tell your overactive mind, this is the time for calm. Your job of worrying is done for now. Over time, these cues powerfully condition your nervous system to shift gears on command. Implement the worry window technique. We touched on this earlier, but let's make it a cornerstone of your design. Choose a specific 15-minute time slot each day, say 5:00 p.m. This is your official appointment with your worries. When an anxious thought pops up at 10 a.m. or 10 p.m., you do not engage with it. You kindly say, I see you. I'll address you during the worry window at 5 p.m. You can write it down on a designated notepad if you fear forgetting it. When 5 p.m. arrives, you sit with your notepad for 15 minutes. You will find most worries have lost their power. For those that remain, you can think about solutions. This practice contains the mental chaos. It trains your brain that worrying is a scheduled activity, not a 24/7 emergency broadcast. It dramatically reduces background anxiety. Carefully curate your information diet. Your mind consumes information like your body consumes food. Junk food makes you feel sick. Junk information makes your mind anxious and noisy. Audit what you let in. Do you need to check the news first thing in the morning? Can you limit social media scrolling to 10 minutes a day? Unfollow accounts that make you feel inadequate or angry. Be ruthless about protecting your mental space. Choose to consume content that educates, inspires, or relaxes you. This isn't about ignoring the world. It's about consuming information intentionally, not compulsively. Just as you wouldn't eat candy all day, don't let fear-based media be your mind's main course. A lighter information diet leads directly to a lighter mind. Finally, design your physical space for calm. Clutter in your environment creates clutter in your mind. You don't need a minimalist palace but create designated zones, a clear workspace for focus, a comfortable chair for reading, a nightstand with only a book and lamp, not a pile of chores. Make your spaces inviting for the activities you want to cultivate. Light a candle, play soft music, open a window. Your environment should whisper peace, not scream chaos. When your external world is orderly and pleasant, your internal world finds it easier to follow suit. You have now built a day and an environment that supports your new, quieter mind. You've moved from fighting fires to building a fireproof structure. With a well-designed life supporting you, you are ready to tackle one of the biggest triggers for overthinking, making decisions. From small choices to life-changing ones, decision-making can be a minefield for the overthinker. In the next chapter, you'll learn the art of confident decision-making. You'll get clear rules to cut through the noise and choose a path without endless second-guessing. Get ready to move from maybe to decided. Chapter 9. The Art of Confident Decision-Making. For his entire vacation, Alex spent his days not on the beach but on his hotel balcony researching. He had to choose between 2 tour packages for the next day. He read hundreds of reviews, compared prices down to the cent, and studied weather maps. The sun set, he ordered room service, and he still hadn't chosen. He wasted a beautiful day trying to make a perfect choice, and both tours would have been fine. This is decision paralysis, where the fear of making the wrong choice is worse than the consequences of any choice. Confident decision-making is not about knowing the future. It's about trusting yourself to handle the outcome. It's about being decisive, not necessarily being right. Let's learn the frameworks that make choosing simple and clear. Introducing the 10-10-10 rule, a tool for gaining perspective. When you're stuck between options, ask yourself 3 questions about each one. How will I feel about this decision in 10 minutes? Probably relieved the agony of choosing is over, or maybe briefly excited or nervous. How will I feel about it in 10 months? The specifics of the decision will likely have faded. You'll probably be focused on something else entirely. How will I feel about it in 10 years? In most cases, you won't even remember making this choice. This exercise shrinks the decision down to its true size. It reveals that very few choices are truly monumental. Most are small chapters in a very long book. This perspective drains the panic from the process and allows you to choose with a calm mind. Your next tool is the time limit. Overthinking expands to fill the time you give it. If you have a week to decide on a new couch, you will spend a week in turmoil. Instead, give yourself a firm, reasonable deadline. For small decisions, what's for dinner, which movie to watch, give yourself 60 seconds. Set a timer. For medium decisions, which gym to join, which plane ticket to book, give yourself 24 hours to research and decide. For larger decisions, accepting a job offer, give yourself a set number of days and schedule your decision time. When the time is up, you must choose. This constraint is liberating. It forces you to go with the best information you have, not the perfect information that doesn't exist. It honors your time and sanity more than the illusion of a flawless outcome. Now let's talk about trusting your gut, your intuition. Your intuition is not magic. It's your subconscious mind processing vast amounts of information, past experiences, subtle cues, your core values, faster than your conscious mind can. After you've done a reasonable amount of research, pause. Close your eyes and imagine you've chosen option A. How does your body feel? Light, open, relaxed, or heavy, tight, constricted? Now imagine option B, which felt better. Often, your body knows before your thinking mind does. Your gut feeling is a valid data point. It is the wisdom of your entire life experience summed up in a feeling. When logic is tied between 2 options, let your intuition break the tie. Choosing what feels right is often the right choice for your overall well-being. Finally, adopt the no wrong paths mindset. This is a revolutionary idea. It means believing that with your skills, resilience, and ability to learn, you can create a good outcome from almost any choice. There are rarely single right paths. There are many good paths with different scenery. If you choose a job and it's not great, you gain clarity, skills, and the courage to leave. If you choose the wrong apartment, you learn exactly what you need in a home. View life as an experiment, not a test. Your goal is to gather experiences and grow, not to ace every multiple-choice question. This mindset removes the doom from decision-making. It turns every choice into a step in your journey, not a final destination. You are always learning, always adapting, and always moving forward. With these tools, decision-making becomes a clean, efficient process instead of a source of dread. You gather information, set a timer, check in with your gut, and choose. You trust yourself to handle whatever comes next. This skill alone will give you back hundreds of hours of mental energy. In the next chapter, we go deeper into the sources of our mental noise. We'll learn how to manage the flood of information and opinions we consume every day. You'll learn to unfollow the external voices that fuel your internal anxiety. Get ready to curate your mental feed for peace. Chapter 10. Unfollow your anxious thoughts, managing your mental feed. Priya felt a constant, low hum of anxiety, but she couldn't pinpoint why. Her life was objectively good. Then she tracked her phone usage for a day. She spent 2 hours scrolling through social media, comparing her quiet life to others' highlight reels. She started her day with a podcast dissecting global political strife. Her lunch break was spent reading alarming health articles. Her mind was consuming a non-stop diet of comparison, conflict, and catastrophe. No wonder she felt anxious. Your mind is like a social media feed, and you are the curator. Every piece of content you consume, news, social media, conversations, even the music you listen to, shapes your inner world. To have a peaceful mind, you must become a ruthless editor of your mental intake. Let's clean up your feed. First, conduct a media audit. For one day, write down everything you consume. Every news article, every social media app you open, every TV show, every podcast. At the end of the day, review the list. For each item, ask, did this make me feel informed, connected, inspired, or did it make me feel anxious, angry, inadequate? Be brutally honest. You will likely see patterns. Maybe the 24-hour news channel leaves you feeling helpless. Perhaps a certain friend's posts always trigger envy. The goal is awareness. You cannot change what you don't measure. This audit isn't about judgment. It's about gathering data on what is currently fueling your mental state. From this place of clarity, you can start to make conscious choices about what you let in. Now apply the unfollow button liberally, both online and offline. On social media, unfollow or mute any account that doesn't add genuine value to your life. This includes brands that stir up desire, people who spark comparison, or news outlets that thrive on fear. You can still be informed without being bombarded. In your real life, practice unfollowing conversations. If a colleague always steers talk toward office gossip or doom-scrolling topics, politely change the subject or excuse yourself. You have a right to protect your mental space. This is not about being rude, it's about being responsible for your own peace. Your attention is your most precious resource. Give it only to what deserves it. Create information boundaries. Designate specific times for consuming news or social media, perhaps 20 minutes in the late morning, and that's it. Never start or end your day with it. Turn off all non-essential notifications on your phone. Each ping is a tiny interruption that fractures your focus and can trigger anxiety. Consider having phone-free zones, the bedroom, the dinner table, the first hour of your day. These boundaries prevent the digital world from constantly invading your mental world. They give your brain uninterrupted time to rest, focus, or simply be bored. Boredom is fertile ground for creativity and calm. Constant stimulation is the ground where anxiety grows. Actively seek out peaceful inputs. If you remove the anxious content, you must replace it with something. Curate a new feed. Follow social media accounts that share nature photography, uplifting stories, or practical skills. Listen to podcasts about science, history, or personal growth instead of crisis commentary. Read books that transport or teach you. Play music that calms or energizes you in a positive way. Fill your environment with inputs that move you toward the person you want to be, curious, calm, and compassionate. Your mind will gradually begin to default to these new, healthier patterns of thought. You are feeding it a different diet, and it will adapt accordingly. Finally, practice mental decluttering just like you declutter a closet. Set aside 10 minutes each week. Sit quietly and ask, what old thought, worry, or resentment am I still holding onto that no longer serves me? It might be an old grudge, a past mistake you can't forgive yourself for, or a future worry you've already solved. Write it down on a piece of paper. Then literally tear it up and throw it away, or safely burn it in a sink. This symbolic act tells your brain, we are releasing this, we are making space. Regularly clearing out this old mental junk prevents it from piling up and creating a stifling environment for your thoughts. You are keeping your mental house clean and airy. You have now learned to manage your internal and external environments for peace. You are the curator, the editor, and the guardian of your mind. This is a position of great power. In the next section, we shift from defense to offense. We'll focus on building lasting strength and resilience. We'll establish daily practices that fortify your mind against overthinking, turning calm from a momentary state into your natural way of being. Get ready to build your mental muscle. Chapter 11. Build your mental muscle, the daily practice of resilience. Imagine two people facing the same stressful event, a sudden critical email from a client. One person spirals into panic, imagining lost business and personal failure. The other feels a spike of stress, takes a deep breath, and calmly drafts a solution-oriented response. The difference isn't luck or personality, it's mental fitness. Just as you can build physical muscles with daily exercise, you can build mental muscles that default to calm and clarity. Resilience isn't something you're born with, it's something you practice. This chapter gives you 3 simple, powerful daily exercises to train your brain for peace. Consistency with these practices will change your baseline state from anxious to anchored. Start your day with morning pages. This tool from Julia Cameron's The Artist's Way is a phenomenal brain dump and clarity creator. First thing each morning before you check your phone, take a notebook and write 3 pages of longhand stream of consciousness writing. Write about anything. Your dreams, your worries, your to-do list, what you hear outside. The rule is, don't stop writing. Don't edit, don't judge the grammar, just keep your hand moving for 3 pages. This practice does 2 things. First, it extracts all the swirling, half-formed thoughts from your mind and puts them on paper, clearing your mental cache for the day. Second, it acts as a meditation, focusing your mind on the simple act of writing. You begin your day with a clean slate and a quiet mind, not one already cluttered with yesterday's leftovers. End your day with the 3 good things practice. Neuroscientists have found that our brains have a negativity bias. They are Velcro for bad experiences and Teflon for good ones. This bias evolved for survival, but it fuels overthinking and anxiety. We can rewire it. Every night just before sleep, take out your journal or notes app. Write down 3 specific good things that happened today and why they happened. They can be small. The barista smiled and remembered my order because I go there often. Or significant. I finished the project proposal because I focused for 2 hours this afternoon. The why is crucial. It helps you see your own agency in creating good moments. This practice trains your brain to scan for the positive, building a reservoir of gratitude that buffers against stress. In the middle of your day, practice micro-mindfulness. You don't need to meditate for an hour on a cushion. Mindfulness simply means paying attention to the present moment without judgment. You can build this muscle in tiny moments. When you wash your hands, feel the temperature of the water and the scent of the soap. When you walk to your car, notice the sensation of your feet hitting the ground. When you drink your coffee, really taste it. Set a random alarm on your phone for once a day labeled pause. When it goes off, stop what you're doing for just 60 seconds. Notice your breath, notice what you see, hear, and feel. These micro practices act like brain push-ups. They strengthen your ability to notice when your mind has wandered into the past or future and gently bring it back to the now. Think of these 3 practices: morning pages, 3 good things, micro-mindfulness, as your daily mental hygiene routine, like brushing your teeth for your mind. You wouldn't skip brushing your teeth for a week and expect good dental health. Similarly, you can't skip these practices and expect a consistently calm mind. They work because they are proactive, not reactive. They don't wait for a crisis to hit. They build your defenses every single day. Over time, the neural pathways for calm, gratitude, and presence become the well-worn superhighways in your brain. The old pathways of worry become overgrown backroads you rarely travel. Your default setting changes from scan for threat to notice the present. This training also builds what psychologists call distress tolerance, the ability to sit with uncomfortable feelings without being hijacked by them. When a stressful thought arises, your mentally fit mind can observe it. It can say, "This is a feeling of anxiety. It is uncomfortable, but it is not dangerous. It will pass." You don't immediately jump into the spiral of trying to think your way out of the feeling. You can breathe through it. This is true emotional strength. It means you are no longer terrified of your own inner weather. You know that storms come and go, and you have a strong, grounded shelter within yourself. You become unshakable not because bad things stop happening, but because you trust in your own capacity to handle them. With a stronger, more resilient mind, you are ready for the next level of freedom, setting clear boundaries, not just with others but with your own brain. It's time to learn how to say a firm, kind no to the thoughts and patterns that steal your peace. In the next chapter, you'll learn to become the confident gatekeeper of your own mental space. Get ready to protect your peace as a non-negotiable priority. Chapter 12. Set boundaries with your own brain. For years, Clara's mind had free rein. Any anxious thought could barge in, take up space, and stay as long as it wanted. It was like living in a house with no locks on the doors. Setting boundaries with your brain means becoming the assertive, compassionate landlord of your own mind. You decide what gets attention, how long it stays, and what the house rules are. This isn't about suppression. It's about management. It's about telling repetitive, unhelpful thoughts, "You don't get to run the show anymore." Your brain is a wonderful servant but a terrible master. In this chapter, you'll learn to reclaim the role of master with kindness and firmness. Your first boundary is learning to say no, thank you to unhelpful thoughts. When a familiar, catastrophic what-if about your health pops up, you don't have to argue with it. You can simply acknowledge it and decline the invitation to dwell. Say inwardly, "I see you, health worry. Thank you for trying to protect me, but I'm not going to follow that thought right now." Then deliberately redirect your attention to your senses or a task. This is not ignoring a real problem. It's refusing to engage with a familiar, unproductive mental loop. You are breaking the automatic, "Oh no, a worry, I must analyze it," reaction. Each time you do this, you reinforce the boundary. You teach your brain that not every thought deserves a committee meeting. Next, apply the "not my problem" filter. A huge amount of mental clutter comes from worrying about things outside your control or responsibility. Your coworker's bad mood, a celebrity scandal, global events you cannot influence, even other people's opinions of you. When these topics arise in your mind, run them through the filter. Ask, "Is this my problem to solve? Is this within my control?" If the answer is no, practice mentally handing it back. You can visualize placing the thought in a balloon and letting it float away. Or say, "That is not my circle of concern right now." This filter saves enormous mental energy. It allows you to focus your problem-solving powers on your actual life, your actions, your responses, your own garden. It is the essence of the serenity prayer in action. Now make protecting your peace a non-negotiable priority. For years, you may have prioritized being nice, being productive, or being informed over being peaceful. It's time to flip the script. Ask yourself daily, "What do I need to protect my peace today?" The answer might be leaving a party early, not checking work email after 6 p.m., saying no to an extra commitment, or taking a lunch break alone. Then you must honor that need without guilt. Protecting your peace is not selfish, it's foundational. You cannot be a good friend, partner, or professional from a place of internal chaos. By making your calm the priority, you fill your own cup first. From that full cup, you can then give to others generously, not resentfully. Practice creating mental white space in your schedule. Overthinkers often fill every minute with tasks, entertainment, or noise to avoid the discomfort of quiet. But quiet is where your mind integrates and rests. Schedule literal blank spaces in your calendar. A 15-minute block with no goal. A Sunday morning with no plans. In these spaces, allow yourself to be bored. Look out the window. Go for a walk without a podcast. This white space is a boundary against the constant doing that fuels mental busyness. It is in this space that creativity sparks and a sense of calm settles in. It teaches your brain that it is safe to just be, without a constant stream of stimulation or problem solving. Finally, establish a worry off-limits zone. Choose one place or time that you declare a sacred space for calm. Perhaps it's your bed, absolutely no problem solving or worrying aloud once your head hits the pillow. Maybe it's the first 15 minutes after you get home, where you change clothes and listen to music instead of ruminating on the day. In this zone, if a worry enters, you firmly escort it out. You might have a prepared phrase, "This is my peace zone." You can come back during the worry window at 5 p.m. This physical or temporal boundary creates a powerful psychological refuge. It gives your nervous system a guaranteed daily break, which is essential for long-term resilience and happiness. You are now the confident guardian of your mental space. With strong boundaries in place, you have created the conditions for action. Overthinking is, at its core, a substitute for action. It is motion without movement. In the next chapter, we will finally bridge that gap. You will learn practical strategies to move from the thinking about it stage to the doing it stage, no matter how small the first step. Get ready to transform from an overthinker into an action taker. Chapter 13. From Overthinker to Action Taker, Bridging the Gap. Lena had a dream of starting a small online store for her handmade candles. She spent months researching suppliers, designing logos, and building a complex business plan in her head. Her notes app was full of ideas, but her website was blank. She was stuck in the planning stage forever, because starting felt terrifyingly final. This gap between thinking and doing is where dreams go to die. Action is the antidote to overthinking. You cannot actively build something and simultaneously ruminate on every possible flaw in the process. Your brain can only fully focus on one primary task. This chapter is about making action so easy that starting becomes automatic. We will move you from the sidelines of your own life onto the playing field. Embrace the powerful 5-minute rule. When you feel resistance to starting a task, cleaning, writing, exercising, making a difficult call, you do not need to commit to finishing it. You only commit to doing it for 5 minutes. Set a timer. Tell yourself, "I can quit after 5 minutes if I want to." Almost always, once you begin, the momentum carries you forward. Starting is the hardest part. The 5-minute rule tricks your brain past the initial resistance by making the commitment seem tiny and non-threatening. It breaks the paralysis of, "This is huge and I must do it perfectly." Instead, it says, "Just dabble in it for 5 minutes." You will find that the act of beginning dissolves most of the anxiety. Action generates clarity that thinking never can. Shift your focus from perfection to progress. Overthinkers worship the perfect outcome, which is a distant, unmoving target. Action takers worship the process of making things slightly better. Your new mantra is, "Something is better than nothing." Did you only write one paragraph instead of a whole chapter? Progress. Did you only walk for 10 minutes instead of running for 30? Progress. Did you just clean one shelf instead of the whole garage? Progress. Track your progress in a visible way. Use a checklist, a habit tracker app, or a simple calendar where you mark an X for each day you take a small step. This visual proof of progress is incredibly motivating. It shows you that you are moving, and momentum builds confidence. Confidence, in turn, reduces the need to overthink. You must learn to celebrate small wins with genuine enthusiasm. Your brain is wired to respond to rewards. If you only celebrate massive, finished achievements, you will rarely feel motivated. But if you celebrate the tiny actions, you train your brain to associate action with positive feelings. Finished your 5 minutes of writing. Do a little dance. Made that phone call you were dreading. Treat yourself to a nice cup of tea. Acknowledged a worry and redirected your attention. Give yourself a mental high five. These celebrations release dopamine, the feel-good chemical, which wires your brain to want to repeat the action. You are literally reprogramming your neurology to be action-oriented. The pursuit of the feeling of accomplishment becomes more compelling than the avoidance of potential failure. Understand that your first action is your best teacher. Theory can only take you so far. You can read every book on swimming, but you only learn to swim by getting in the water and flailing a bit. Your first blog post will teach you more about writing than thinking about it for a year. Your first awkward conversation about a boundary will teach you more about communication than any book. Action provides real-world feedback. It shows you the actual obstacles, not the imagined ones. It corrects your course based on reality, not fear. Therefore, view every small action as an experiment. You are not succeeding or failing. You are gathering data. This removes the terrifying stakes and makes action feel like curious exploration, which is inherently exciting and low pressure. As you take more small, brave actions, your identity begins to shift. You stop seeing yourself as an overthinker and start seeing yourself as a doer. You begin to trust yourself more because you have evidence that you can start things and handle the results. This self-trust is the ultimate enemy of overthinking. Why would you need to endlessly analyze if you trust yourself to adapt and cope with any outcome? The gap between thought and action closes. Decisions come faster because you know you can adjust course later. Life becomes more fluid and less frozen. In the next chapter, we will prepare for the inevitable, setbacks. You will learn how to navigate moments when old patterns return without spiraling into self-criticism. Get ready to build resilience for the long haul. Chapter 14. Navigate setbacks without spiraling. David had been practicing his new tools for months. He was saying no to worries, taking small actions, and feeling freer. Then he had a terrible, stressful week at work. One night he found himself lying awake, his mind racing with old, familiar catastrophes about his job security. His first thought was, "I've failed. I'm back to square one. All that work was for nothing." This moment, the lapse, is not a failure. It is a universal part of the change process. Your brain has well-worn pathways for overthinking, and under high stress, it will default to them. This chapter is about navigating these detours with compassion and skill so they don't become permanent U-turns. Your goal is not perfection, but resilient recovery. When you notice old patterns creeping back, the first and most important step is to apply zero self-criticism. Beating yourself up for overthinking is just adding a second layer of painful thinking on top of the first. It's like getting a cut and then punching the wound. Instead, practice noticing with neutral curiosity. Say to yourself, interesting. My mind is doing that old catastrophizing routine again. I must be really stressed. This observation creates instant distance. It frames the lapse as data, a signal that you are tired, stressed, or triggered, not as a verdict on your worth or progress. Treat yourself with the same gentle kindness you would offer a tired friend who is having a hard day. Compassion is the oil that loosens the gears of a stuck mind. Next, deploy your simplest emergency brake. Don't try to analyze why you're spiraling, just stop the spiral. Use the 5-4-3-2-1 grounding technique right where you are, or take 3 long, slow breaths, or get up and splash cold water on your face. Interrupt the pattern physically before you try to address it mentally. Remember, when you are in the spiral, your thinking brain is offline. You must use a body-based tool to regain access to it. This is not a step back. It is a skillful application of your training. It proves you are no longer a passive victim of the spiral. You have tools and you are using them. That in itself is a sign of profound progress, even if the worry thoughts are still present. After you have created a bit of calm, investigate with gentle curiosity. Ask yourself, what triggered this? Did you skip sleep? Have a difficult conversation? Consume too much news? The trigger is rarely the content of the worry, the job, the relationship. It's usually a depletion of your resources. Finding the trigger helps you address the root cause, not just the symptom. Maybe you need to rest, eat a proper meal, or have a calming ritual. This turns the lapse from a random failure into a useful message from your body and mind. It says, "You are running low on fuel. Please refill." Listening to this message is a form of self-respect that prevents future lapses. Now practice the compassionate self-talk script. Write down a few sentences you can say to yourself in these moments. They should be firm yet kind, like a wise coach. For example, "This is a tough moment and it's okay. I've handled this before and I can handle it now. This feeling is temporary. I will focus on my next small, kind action." Read this script aloud when you feel the wave of anxiety or self-criticism. Hearing the words externally has a powerful effect. It overwrites the old, harsh inner critic with a new, supportive voice. This script becomes your anchor in the storm, a pre-written message of resilience you can rely on when your own mind feels untrustworthy. Finally, and most crucially, see the lapse as a detour, not a dead end. Progress is never a straight line upward. It is a spiral where you circle back to old issues at a slightly higher level each time. This relapse is not you erasing your progress. It is you having an opportunity to practice your new skills under more difficult conditions. That is how they become permanent. Each time you recover with compassion and tools, you deepen the new neural pathways. You prove to yourself that setbacks are surmountable. This builds a profound, unshakable confidence. You are no longer afraid of the spiral because you know you have a map out of it. In our final chapter, we will look at the big picture. We will envision the life you are building, a life led not by fear, but by freedom and quiet confidence. Chapter 15. The life you gain, imagining your future with a quiet mind. Close your eyes and imagine a version of yourself 6 months from now. You wake up feeling rested, not because you slept more, but because your mind allowed you to truly rest. You see a full day ahead, and instead of a to-do list that feels like a threat, you see a series of possibilities. A difficult email arrives. You feel a flicker of old anxiety, but you take a deep breath and respond clearly. A friend cancels plans. You feel momentary disappointment, but you don't spiral into stories about what it means. You simply enjoy a quiet evening. This is the life you are building, a life where your energy is spent on living, not on thinking about living. It is a life of presence where you are the main character in your own story, not the anxious critic in the audience. Think of the time and mental energy you are reclaiming. The hours once spent lying awake worrying are now spent sleeping or reading. The mental bandwidth once consumed by rehearsing conversations is now free for creativity or deep focus. The energy once spent managing imaginary disasters is now available for real connections and joyful activities. You are getting back the most non-renewable resource you have, your attention. With this reclaimed attention, you can finally build the things that matter to you, a stronger relationship, a hobby you love, a healthier body, a more peaceful home. Your life expands because your mind is no longer constricting it with endless loops of doubt. You have space to breathe, grow, and simply be. This new way of being creates a powerful ripple effect in all your relationships. When you are not trapped in your own head, you can truly listen to others. You hear what they are actually saying, not just the story you're telling yourself about what they mean. You respond from a place of calm choice, not reactive anxiety. This makes you a better partner, parent, friend, and colleague. Conflicts feel less threatening because you trust yourself to handle them. Connections feel deeper because you are fully present. You stop trying to manage others' emotions, which allows them to take responsibility for their own feelings. Your relationships become cleaner, more authentic, and more fulfilling. You attract people who value peace because you now embody it. Your work and creativity will also transform. Decision paralysis becomes a rarity. You research, decide, and act. Procrastination loses its grip because you use the 5-minute rule to start. Fear of criticism shrinks because your self-worth is no longer tied to perfect performance. This allows you to take bolder creative risks, share ideas more freely, and contribute your unique gifts without constant self-editing. Work becomes a channel for expression and problem-solving, not just a minefield of potential judgment. You become more productive not by pushing harder, but by removing the immense internal friction that overthinking created. You find flow more easily because your mind is not constantly interrupting itself. Ultimately, your mind becomes a peaceful place to live. It is no longer a chaotic office with alarms blaring. It is a welcoming home. You can sit with your own thoughts and find comfort, not fear. Silence becomes a friend, not something to be filled with noise or worry. You develop a deep, abiding trust in yourself. You know that you can feel anxious and still choose a wise action. You know that you can face uncertainty without needing to resolve it immediately. This inner peace is your new foundation. From this foundation, you can build any kind of life you want. The noise was the cage. In the quiet, you discover you were always free. You just needed to turn down the volume to hear your own wisdom, which was there all along. This is not the end of your work. It is the beginning of your new normal. The tools in this book are now part of your life kit. Some days you will use them effortlessly. Other days you will forget and remember again. That is the human journey. Your task is not to achieve a state of permanent, thoughtless bliss. Your task is to keep choosing the quiet, one moment at a time. To keep coming back to the present, to your breath, to the facts, to action. As you do, the space between your thoughts will grow wider. In that space, you will find your life, vivid, immediate, and yours to live fully. The journey from overthinking to living is the greatest adventure you will ever take, and it starts fresh every single day. Conclusion: welcome to your new normal. Look how far you have come. You began this journey feeling hijacked by your own thoughts, stuck in exhausting mental loops. You learned to see the trap, name your patterns, and catch the stories you tell yourself. You equipped yourself with emergency brakes and learned to challenge the what-if monster. You dismantled perfectionism, befriended your body, and designed a life that supports calm. You built mental muscle, set boundaries, and became an action taker. You learned to navigate setbacks with compassion, not collapse. You have done the work of rearranging the furniture of your mind from a place of chaos to a place of peace. This is an extraordinary achievement. You have not just read a book. You have engaged in a profound retraining of your own brain. For that, you deserve tremendous credit and deep peace. This is your new normal. It is not a destination where all thinking stops, but a new relationship with your mind. You are now the skilled navigator of your inner world. You know that storms may arise, but you also know you have a strong ship and can read the stars. Carry these tools with you gently. Let this book be a friend you can return to, a map you can consult when the path feels foggy. Remember, progress is not linear. Some days will be easier than others, and that is perfectly okay. Your commitment is simply to return again and again to the practices of presence, compassion, and action. Trust the process. Trust the quiet. Most of all, trust yourself. You have everything you need within you to live a life of less noise and more meaning. The quiet mind is not a distant dream. It is your home. Welcome home. Now go live your life fully.